estou aqui no marco zero da latitude 0,00000 da linha do Equador. Existe um erro de cálculo em relação à mitad del mundo no vídeo anterior. Com a precisão tecnológica atual, é possível afirmar que o monumento da mitad del mundo está cerca de 240 metros fora do eixo. Porém, dentro da margem de erro, ambos os monumentos são considerados exatos. Então, passando aqui pela estrada, paramos aqui com a equipe, para onde eu estou hospedado na casa, com a Laura, que sempre está me filmando e vai aparecer aí no horário. Agora são 12h10 e essa é a verdadeira linha do Equador. Eu comprovei, eu fiz um print screen do GPS do meu celular e comprova que nós estamos na linha 0000. Eu não fiz isso anteriormente na outra linha do Equador, porque até então era a linha verdadeira. Mas os nativos, e é comprovado pelo celular, pelo GPS, que aqui é a linha 000 da latitude 0000. Então é isso, eu vou tentar explicar mais para frente. E é isso aí, essa é a linha do Equador, a verdadeira. É um monumento bem mais simples, como vocês podem ver. Porém, é a verdadeira linha do Equador, nível latitude 0000.
Okay, and first, welcome to the middle of the world. My name is Dario. I give you an explanation about this place, this platform. This monument is a big sundial. Yeah, I'm going to explain how it works using this model over here about these lines. The equator running in this way, this line was calculated with satellite technology. We have a 2 certification. This is a certification from Ecuadorian Army. Another side, we have another certification from United States. That's why this is the first monument exactly on the equator line. During these dates, the equinox March 21st and September 23, the sun rises of the east in this point, straight over on the equator. This is the Cayambe volcano, it's over there. It's the only place where the equator crossing on the snow covered is the highest point around the line. So in the morning, the shadow from this tower set to the west, straight on the line. Let me show you one picture during the equinox, yeah, like this. So the shadow straight on the line during the equinox. Okay, so the shadow determines the time over these lines, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, up 12 o'clock. No shadow around because the sun is in the zenith. When the sun is just in the zenith, it gets shine inside. Only for a few seconds and only 2 days on the year, during the equinox March 21st and September 23. Okay, so in the afternoon the sun continues down to the west, so the shadow sets to the other side for determining the time, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 p.m. After March, the sun rises and sunsets to the northern hemisphere. In this month, April, May, and June. In June 21st is the summer solstice. The sun is over the Tropic of Cancer, over Mexico, Libya, Algeria, Egypt. That's why it's summer to the north and winter to the south, the longest days and the shortest days. In September, the sun is over equator again and it continues to the south. October, November, and December. In December 22nd, the second solstice, the sun is over the Tropic of Capricorn, over Australia, for example. That's why it's summer to the south and winter to the north. And then it will back. January, February, and March. As you can see the sun, 6 months to the north and 6 months to the south, only on the equator. For example, in the northern hemisphere, for example for you in French, you can observe the sun for you is always to the south, so your shadow is always to the north. In Argentina or Australia, these people observe the sun always to the north, so the shadow is always to the south. On the equator, on the line, the sun is directly overhead. That's why our shadow is 6 months to the south and 6 months to the north. And 2 days on the year, no shadow around because the sun is in the zenith during the equinox, okay? For example, in the northern hemisphere, in June 21st is summer, in December 22nd is winter. Autumn and spring during the equinox. In Argentina is opposite. These people have the summer during December 22nd and June 21st is winter. Autumn and spring during the equinox. That's how the calendar works and that's how the season works, okay? Also the equator is running around the world and other countries and other places. For example, Colombia, Brazil, Africa, or Indonesia. The most common question when the people come here is why we have the name Ecuador for this region if the line is another countries too? Why not another countries too where the equator crossing? The main reason is we have the mountains, yeah, that we have the mountains because the Andes, these mountains, provide us the fixed points on the horizon, the fixed landmarks. when we can track the sun, the moon, and measure it. But it's impossible on the jungle, for example, Colombia or Brazil, because the equator is on the Amazon rainforest. These are savannas in Africa or Iceland in Indonesia. In these places, everything is flat. It's not possible to do. That's why 200 years ago, the French Academy came this region for using these hills to do the mathematical triangulation. They never went to Gabon. Gabon even was a French colony in the 18th century. It's very easier, it's closer, it's much more cheaper. But the problem, Gabon is on the rainforest, closed forest, is not possible to do. That's why these people came to this region for using these hills. Even they give us the name Ecuador, the lands of the equator. That's why right now is Ecuador for this region, for this country. Okay, in commemoration, the Maestro Geodesi came to this region, was building this monument near Quito, outside of Quito. This is famous, but this monument is not on the equator line. The equator crossing on top of this hill. This monument is 200 meters off the equator line. The equator crossing on top of this hill, the name is Catequilia. Catequilia and this monument in this city, San Antonio de Pichincha, near Quito, outside of Quito. According to this picture, we are here now, and 28 kilometers follow this line in that way. This is Catequilla, okay? For example, in French, you cannot observe some stars from the south, for example. In Argentina or Australia, these people, they cannot observe some stars from the north, yeah? On the equator, on the line, yeah, it's possible to observe the both sides at the same time. For example, the famous one for you in French is the Ursa Major, the Big Dipper, yeah? Yeah, the Big Dipper. From French, it's impossible to observe the Southern Cross. In Argentina, these people observe the Southern Cross, but never the Big Dipper. On the equator, on the line, it's possible to observe the both sides at the same time and complete the Milky Way or galaxy in different months of the year. Maybe do you know Orion's belt? Orion's belt? Yeah. For example, in the northern hemisphere, these people observe this constellation to the south. In Argentina, these people observe to the north. On the equator, on the line, is the straight up, okay? Incredible. That's how it works at vertical motion from east to west. If that's how it works, with your fingers, please show me in which way does the Earth rotate. This is a little test for you. Show me with your fingers in which way does the Earth rotate. If the sun rises up the east and sun sets to the west. What do you think? No? Exactly. Yeah, like this. Yeah. Let me show you. The most part of the time, we have been educated in this perspective. With this perspective, without sense, because the north is not up and the south is not down. Yeah. Because no matter where we are, this is the north and this is the south. In France, in Germany, in Italy, this is the north, this is the south, yeah. Sideways. Today, Kizato, this project, opened a discussion based on how nature works. And this project is already printing the new idea. For example, the globes, well-oriented. So the north should be to the north and south should be to the south. So if the sun rises at the east and sunset to the west, it's because the Earth rotates from west to east, like this. But from the sun, the Earth is tilted to 23.5 degrees. But this perspective is from the sun. We are not on the sun, we are on the Earth. This perspective is how understand the orientation and the direction, north, south, east, and west, from the Earth. This perspective explaining about the seasons. For example, my hand is the sun. Over the Tropic of Cancer is summer, and 6 months later is summer to the south. Autumn and spring during the equinox. This is a vertical motion, but this perspective is from the sun, the heliocentrical perspective. This is from the Earth. That's why this project is open a discussion in this perspective, based on how nature works. And maybe, do you know the meaning of the word north? What is the meaning of the word north?
Number of population?
No?
No?
Right. Exactly, this left, not right, left. Yeah, exactly, yeah. Let me show you. The north came from India, yeah, the earliest English, N-E-R. That means left. For example, Norway. Norway means the country of the left, left to the equator. Or the countries Nordic is left to the equator. South is right. And if we want to orientate, there is only one way. We should follow the Orient. And Orient in Latin means where the sun rises. Even the meaning of the words explain us how we should use the maps and the globes and the well-oriented. In this position, this is just a historical error. This is a political view of the world. In this perspective, where is saying the upper countries are below countries, without sense, because nobody is over anybody. All the nation is on the specific position. Even this perspective gives us a scientific explanation about this perspective. This is just a historical error. That's why this project is already printing the new idea to make the maps. This is the first map have a scientific explanation. Yeah. Some universities start a discussion this perspective because for the children it's much more easier to understand the climate, the season, the wind, and that's how the nature works, and that's how we should learn, that's how we should teach. In this perspective, this is just a historical error. This is a political view of the world. Even this perspective is an opportunity to share the common sense and freedom in this perspective. Do you understand what I mean here? Okay. And another information is explaining about the archaeological site, the ancient astronomy. You remember this hill, Catequilla?
Yeah.
Catequilla is very interesting because on top of this hill, 5 centuries before the Incas came to Ecuador, the local people called Quito-Caranquis built this archaeological site. It's a half semicircle the wall exactly on the equator line. Imagine without technology or instruments, these people located the equator with mathematical precision on top of this hill. It's very interesting because this point was a pre-Inca observatory. For example, if once you are on there, you can observe during the summer solstice in June 21st, the sun rises in this point. In this point, the indigenous people built this group, the 15 pyramid trunks, the name is Cochasquí. And 6 months later, in December 22nd, the sun is over another archaeological site, the name is Pambamarca. Each place is marked the max position the sun of the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, yeah? The indigenous people using this horizon for determine the time. They know when to plant and when to harvest. It's a calendar agriculture. That's why Catequilla is a center point where other buildings were located with mathematical precision too. This project found more than 200 alignments with another archaeological site. Using the astronomy and technology, this project developing this predictive model for found another archaeological site surrounding Catequilla. Yeah? For example, the Quito Old Town. The Catela churches were building on top of the ancient sites. This project found the light effect over the painting and over the sculpture because the churches were building on top of the ancient sites. And this project found more than 58 light effects into the churches too. And this project, using this model for found another archaeological site, using the astronomy.
Neste momento, fomos surpreendidos pelo nosso querido cachorrinho Sky. Desculpe a nossa falha.
In the satellite photos, yeah? And this research is signed 22 years ago, and this monument was built in signed 12 years ago. This is about the displays and the sundial. And please, before the end of this explanation, let me show you the additional information for you. This is a publication of this project, because this project is a self-management, it's independent. This is how we are financing this project. We have sell this information. This set, for example, explaining about the ancient astronomy, the archaeological site, and this is explaining about the perspective, the is a reference, okay?